Good morning. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us for another edition of the Morning Breeze, man. Always rocking with you guys, as always, man. Outside of me, I got my guy, Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC, in the building.
Run it back.
The best show for Chicago sports.
Yeah. What's good? We back. Back and better than ever. Greeny. I kiddo as always. Listen. A lot to talk about from that game. My goodness. Chicago Bears desperately need a culture-setting head coach, and they need one now. But will they make that move? DJ Moore says that this ain't rock bottom. This ain't the breaking point for this team. Do you agree with him? And Flu's getting the hard-hitting questions as, hey, Matt, if you're going to be fired anyway, do you want to at least try a different offensive play caller? We'll talk about all that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily Morning Breeze Edition. The date is 11/11/2024. It's 6:32 in the goddamn morning. And I don't know if I believe DJ Moore that this ain't rock bottom. Let's go. Big vibes. Hey, but we gonna be all right. Hey, we gonna be all right. Hey, we gonna be all right, yeah. Appreciate y'all for rocking with us, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. I need y'all to go ahead and do me a favor and
Come on. Push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push your button.
You heard what she said.
Y'all heard what Sue Young said. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Oh, who would have thought Patriots, right? Who would have thought the Patriots? Literally versus every other team in the NFL, a Jaguar-style team. A team that can't figure it out on both ends. A team that can't get out of their own way. Come into your building, look like world beaters, and absolutely kick the living crap out of you. Who would have thought the Patriots, right? And then the best part of all of it is, and I'm sure many of you Bears fans out there are like me, the best part of all of it is you then get to watch the rest of the NFL. And you see what even on some bad teams, competence looks like. You see what even on some bad teams, what a real football team is supposed to look like. And I saw a game last night. On Monday night, or on Sunday Night Football, that really sets the tone of culture. I saw a game in which Jared Goff could not get out of his own way. Worst game by Jared Goff by far this season. Absolutely terrible. Until it needed not to be. The Houston Texans absolutely kicking the living crap out of the Lions. And then Jared Goff goes out, gets it together, figures it out, still struggles through it. Good run game. And a team that never gave up. That's culture. The Lions come out with their 7th straight win. That's culture. Down bad. Quarterback playing terribly. Boys, we ain't out of this. That's a culture. The Chicago Bears are still talking about the Washington game. You don't have a culture here. You have a coach who likes to say he has a principle that he has not enforced the entire time. How long are you going to stand by that? That's the question. I have never seen a head coach with more of a resume to be fired in season than Matt Eberflus. I know a lot of people say, well, what do you do? What's the answer? I didn't say there was an answer this season. There isn't an answer this season. There's no answer to the fact that your offensive line is decimated. There's no answer to the fact that you've got a coaching staff on the field that can't get out of its own way. There's no answer to the fact that you've wasted Caleb Williams' rookie year by not protecting him just like you did Justin Fields his rookie year. There's no answer to that. When the time you needed answers to that was back in the offseason before the draft. Shout out to Paul with the super chat. Said it starts with the owners. They never hired a top coordinator for a head coach. They're cheap. Head coaches usually bring their guys in, but in this situation, I do believe that a lot of these guys were hired for Matt Eberflus. There is no connection to him. By the way, we gotta run through a couple of these real quick. Shout out to y'all pulling up this morning. Over 100 in the chat. Over 200 in the chat. Over 300 in the chat. 300. I just listen. When you see night and day between the Bears and the rest of the league with the culture that they have, watching that game last night, watching the Detroit Lions come back, that's culture. Their head coach came out at the half and said, we just got to stick together. We're not going to get this game back all at once. We have to get it one play at a time. We have, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on getting it one play at a time, one drive at a time. All of a sudden, they're at the end of this game kicking a field goal to win it. For fantasy purpose, I needed Fairbairn to hit that 50-yarder. He really screwed me on that one. You don't have that here. And I'll be honest with you, it's not something that you can fake. It's not something that just grows magically out of nowhere. You don't have that here. I wasn't locked in when the Lions were 1-7 before they end up going on their big run. But I do remember the conversation around Dan Campbell. I wasn't locked in on the Lions, I should say. But I do remember the conversation around Dan Campbell being that his team is still playing for him. They haven't given up. They haven't gone away from what he's preaching, what he's teaching. How many times have we said here, it looks like this team is not playing for Flus? How many times have we said here, it looks like this team is not really looking to follow whatever that hits principle is? I feel like it's been a conversation for certain players and at times for the team throughout the entirety of Flus's career. And how many times have we heard Flus just sputter nonsense about what's going to get them over the hump? Never heard Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Jim Harbaugh say that it's about what you do on the grass. It's about time on task. Never heard any of these guys speak that way. Tana in the chat said we should have known Flus couldn't coach from the dry pep talk he made the team on Hard Knocks. Super bland. I don't need a coach that's great at pep talks. I do need a coach that can coach, though. And I think when you talk about Flus as a leader of men, when you talk about Flus as a culture setter, that is one thing that you can say it is not his strong suit. Is Flus a heck of a DC? Yeah, he is. I do still believe that he's a heck of a DC, but I think you've also got a team that's to a point. I mean, what we watched in that game yesterday defensively, what we saw from that Bears team yesterday defensively, in that first half, second half, they got it together a little bit. Lackluster, though. Very lackluster. Now, at the end of the day, still only 19 points. You have an offense that couldn't get out of its own way. They never got it going. I mean, it was literally the punch show. My God, Torrey Taylor, how's the leg? But it's an absolute joke that every single year we talk about the culture of the team. We talk about how this team looks, and that stuff doesn't change, guys. It doesn't get better. That's the stuff that I've never seen. Like I said before, I have never seen a Sean McVay coach team all of a sudden magically be terrible and then they figure it out and get better. I've seen him be banged up and injured. But even in those moments, you go, I see what Sean's trying to do there. Just doesn't have the talent to do it. I've already watched the tape from yesterday's game because I was like, F it, pull the Band-Aid off. Here we go. I don't know what Shane Waldron was trying to do in the second half of that game. First half, I'll give him a little bit more leeway, but you got to be consistent, dog. Paul with another super chat said, like I said yesterday, we're not winning another game this season. Real talk. The Packers destroying us next week might force Poles to clean house. I'm sorry. If you haven't been forced to clean house after this, you ain't going to be forced to clean house. At this point, it's either the coach or the fans. We're coming back. We're coming back. You know we're coming back. But honestly, like it to me, the fact that there's constantly this need to pull the culture back into the right place. There's constantly this need to try and get things back on track with Flus. 3 seasons in, come on, dog. The fact that we can constantly look back at games that the coaching clearly cost you. He's a good DC. He's a heck of a DC, if I'm being honest. But he's not the culture setter for your team. And that's what's scary here. That's where it feels like you have no up, no out. Shout out to Emilio. He said, overall, I think Poles has done a great job building this team, but this offseason, he should be prioritizing fixing O-line and hire Big Ben Johnson. Yeah. The priority has to be, I mean, here's the thing. Your priority now has to be not getting Caleb Williams killed. And Caleb's priority has to be not getting Caleb Williams killed. Listen, yesterday, you can't exclude Caleb in a lot of yesterday. That's why I say in the first half, I don't think that Shane Waldron called a terrible game. In the second half, it gets a heck of a lot more confusing in that passing game to me. There's times where I'm like, bro, y'all are making this so difficult on yourself. I don't even know what you're trying to call here. But realistically speaking, in the first half, listen, there's passes that Caleb just flat out missed. There are drives that are stopped because Caleb Williams was not good enough. There are drives that are stopped because Caleb Williams overthrew his receiver, underthrew his receiver, couldn't get the ball where it needed to go. Like there's a bunch of drives that you look at and go, you got to make that throw. And then in the second half, there's a bunch of drives that I go, who's he supposed to be throwing to here? Why is this so? But what's the game plan here? What's the logic in this? Why are we trying to make this play happen? Why are we trying to do this like this? And when you have that inconsistency with play calling, it's not going to make things easier for your young quarterback. On top of the fact that you've got an offensive line that's basically me and the Breeze crew. You got Doug Kramer out there at left guard. I said this early in the season. There's no way you bring back Tevin Jenkins after the consistency of him going out. I mean, you're in a bad spot with the offensive line. Big shock. You didn't address it. You didn't go after it. You didn't go all in with it. You were excited to get the quarterback, but had no intent on actually protecting the quarterback. When you look at the teams that are winning, when you look at the teams that are good, you always end up seeing culture. The Rams have culture. That's why they're coming back. The Lions have culture. The Packers have culture. Never have I questioned Matt LaFleur's culture up there. You questioned whether Aaron Rodgers was bought in with LaFleur's culture, but you knew that LaFleur had a culture. Kevin O'Connell has culture. Everybody else in the division has culture, but you. They have the thing that they can rely on that you can't, and you can pinpoint it immediately. If I'm talking about the Lions, I'm looking at the Lions. I'm going to say phenomenal run game. They do a great job protecting Jared Goff from his mistakes. They have an awesome offensive line. They have two really good running backs that are their bell cows, that they really is the workhorse of that team. And they've got a defense that has kind of figured it out a little bit, but that is a little more susceptible because of the pass rush. But hey, you went out and got a nice addition. There's still going to be a tough defense to go up against. Broken down, done. Now look at the Vikings. Vikings are going to have a solid pass game. It's going to be heavily predicated to Justin Jefferson. They're going to run it when they get down in the red zone a ton. It's pretty much forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson or bust, but their defense is going to blitz all night. Culture, I know what they are. What are the Bears? I cover this team. I literally get paid to cover this team on a daily basis. I have no idea what your offensive identity is. I'm going to be real with you. Over the last few weeks, I'm confused on the defensive identity on this team. I believe that they're a team that's going to shut down the pass and usually do a pretty good job of it, although they're kind of willing to let some of those underneath passes get through, which keep drives going. And I believe that they're good enough to adjust to stop the run. But I mean, realistically speaking, you've gotten 400 yards of offense put on your head over the last couple of weeks. Like, I guess that's kind of our identity, a strong defense. What is the Bears culture? What's the thing that the Bears can hang their hat on? What's the thing that the Bears can go to bat every time and say, this is who we are? Brandon Truth with the Bears culture equals ruin every QB1. Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's certainly what it feels like. It sucks, man. It sucks looking around the league and seeing all of these teams who have the culture, who have it figured out, who have the, I mean, let's be real, who have the cojones to say, if we don't have it, we'll go find somebody that gives it to us. Hey, yo. I think that's the worst part of this. It doesn't feel like be honest, Bears fans. It feels like the Bears should fire Matt Eberflus by the end of this year. Does it feel like they will? You telling me you can see no scenario where the Bears don't bring Flus back? You're telling me there's no scenario where you could see the Chicago Bears not march him right back out there and say, hey, he improved. We saw some good things. We don't want to change our head coach in the midst of a new quarterback. We're not going to jump back on this quarterback carousel. You telling me you can't see that happening? I feel like that's so Raven. I can see that scenario so clearly. Talking about culture. By the way, 342 in the building, 54 likes. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do, man. Get to some of these super chats. Paul said, was Flus hired before Poles, or did Poles hire him? Because I heard the Bears were advised by Polian. Poles hired Flus, but it was very fast. It was quick enough that you were like, there's no way you went through rounds of interviews with this guy. Tony with the super chat said, whoever suggested Ron Rivera is nuts. Did you see what he did to the Commanders? You know what, though? I think people are suggesting certain coaches based on the fact that that they can build a culture. I think that's what it comes down to. When I look at Mike Vrabel, do I see one of the great offensive minds? Do I see one of the great tacticians in the NFL? No, but everything that I hear about this guy from people around the NFL is that he is going to come in, he's going to shake some things up, and he's going to prioritize accountability. He's going to prioritize the offensive line. He's going to prioritize protecting his quarterback. Those are things I like to hear. Those are things that you want to see. And it's things you're not seeing here. It's things you're not seeing now. Say what you want, but realistically, outside of Darnell Wright, you've drafted projects and signed bad deals for the offensive line. You haven't prioritized it. Even the deals that you did sign, they're cheap. Coleman Shelton, 1 year, $3 million for a center. That probably means he's not very good. Ryan Bates, 5th round pick, trade. Okay, that's a guy. Nate Davis, $30 million for a guard, 3 years. Guards are usually around the $20 million range. Probably means he's not that good. You're trying to outsmart the world at the most important position on the field. And I believe what it's doing to your team is, right, Darnell Wright has taken a massive step back. I can sit there and go, yeah, he probably did take a step back. You know why? Because you got a team that has a bunch of nobodies trying to protect next to him, probably not improving very much. It's probably not getting some great lessons on the offensive line out there. Let's not get me started on Chris Morgan either. Let's keep this thing moving along, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Thank you guys for tuning in and rocking with me this morning. Could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. DJ Moore says that this ain't the breaking point yet, which is good to hear. which I think is surprising to hear. But DJ Moore is Mr. Positivity. There's a belief in this situation, probably from DJ, that you can always turn it around, especially still at 4-5. Now, playoff wise, you're probably in a bad way. Playoff wise, you're probably in a tough situation right now. But do you feel that this is the breaking point for the Chicago Bears, where we're at right now? And I guess I can kind of agree with them. Right? I guess I can kind of agree with them. You get your head kicked in by the Packers. That's probably your breaking point, right? When the Vikings come through and they just coming through with the engage 8. That's probably your breaking point. When you see the Lions come through and put up 60 on us, that's probably your breaking point. I would assume the divisional games will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, because you will then go into another set of games where Matt Eberflus probably will continue to have never beaten the Green Bay Packers. We know how much that changes things up there. You will probably head into a week where Matt Eberflus gets his head kicked in by the Detroit Lions and the Vikings. Like, those are probably the breaking points for this team, because those divisional games mean so much more. As wild as it is to say, especially after losing to the Patriots, who are literally just not a good football team. Found a way to beat you, but are just not a good football team. You're still not out of it if you win your divisional games more than you lose them. You still have a fighting chance in this. So I guess in that sense, I do understand what DJ Moore means as this is not the breaking point for this team. This is not rock bottom. But then I hear guys like Kevin Byard who are asked about, has Flus lost the locker room? And his response to that was, I ain't going to get into that, but we got to play better. That's telling. I'll say this. I talk to those guys a lot up there. I get to talk with Jalen Johnsons. I get to talk with Kevin Byard. I get to talk with, DJ Moore. These are not speak first, think later players. These are guys who are very calculated and very well thought in their responses. These are guys who are very well prepared for the media. So when they say something, they mean it. They do. The avoidance of has Flus lost the locker room? I'm not gonna go there. But we got to play better. It's telling. What we saw 2 weeks ago after the Washington game. What we saw when every one of the captains coming out, hey, we got to do this. We got to make this better. I don't like this call. I wouldn't have done that. Hey, if I was the head coach, probably not my move. All of these guys speaking out. 4 captains, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet talking about how guys aren't going the extra mile in practice. The Jalen Johnson talking about how the team wasn't prepared, need to burn a time out there. Kevin Byard saying we shouldn't have given up the 15 yards, questioning decisions from your coaching staff left and right. These guys aren't just speaking. They know what they're doing. They know how they know what they're saying, and they mean what they say. They are very intentional when they speak. They are well-spoken men. I've never heard a coach talked about this much. And the only reason that I think now Kevin Byard is kind of going, well, we're not going to talk about that, is because he knows he's very open. He's going to sit there and tell you what the real is. And Flus had the conversation with them behind the scenes. Remember, DJ Moore comes out and says, apparently I said too much last time, so I'm going to just say no. because the coaching staff's telling them, hey, let's keep some stuff in-house. It's a bad spot to be in, man. It's a bad spot to be in, and it's a very I don't know why this popped into my head. Like there's what was it? It was 1994, I think. It was a Tyrese movie, or the 1990 some Tyrese movie. I never ended up watching it, but I seen the TikTok clip, and like old boy runs up to him and puts the piece to his head, and was like, "Yeah, how's that feel?" He's like, "Familiar," and I was like, "This is Bears fans, bro." I literally was just like, this is Bears fans. This is how we feel. Familiar. How's it feel to have your team disappoint your dreams and hopes and suck again? Familiar. Not surprised. I think the fact that it still feels like this is a fallout of the Washington game. The fact that it still feels like this is a fallout of one Hail Mary play. That broke everything that you had built. That broke every bit of momentum that you may have had. That to me tells you what your culture is and what you really need to change and how you really need your team moving. That to me tells you you're in a bad spot. You've got some concerns. By the way, I've missed a few here. Over 500 in the chat. Over 600 in the chat. Over 700 in the chat. Appreciate y'all. The fact that we can sit here and talk about this team seemingly being crippled from one play. Come on. That means your culture wasn't real to begin with. That means what you thought you had wasn't real to begin with. And when you hear these comments post game, it doesn't sound much better. Now, realistically speaking, here's the one thing that we do know, Bears fans. More than likely, if it has not happened yet, Matt Eberflus will not be fired. He's going to be speaking today. As always, he will be on at 10:45 today, which means you will get Shay and the Designer on ESPN Chicago from 10 to 12. So pull up on us over there as well. We'll be live over on ESPN Chicago from 10 to 12 today. I know that spot's usually occupied by Mike Greenberg here in Chicago, but you get a little bit more Chicago Bears talk this week. So tap in with us over there. But because of that, with him speaking at 10:45, you're more than likely in a situation where he's still going to be the head coach for the foreseeable future. You're not going to fire Matt Eberflus. And I thought Herb was going for the jugular yesterday. Heard Herb Howard just going all in on Flus. I mean, phenomenally well. I thought that it was very poignanted. I thought he did it in a very respectful way, but he did not shy away from what the real conversation was. And he asked Flus the question about, basically, listen, if this season keeps going the way it's going, you're probably going to end up being fired. Are you not willing to explore changing the offensive play caller heading into this week and in the coming weeks here, knowing that Shane Waldron has not been consistent enough at that position, knowing that you have multiple offensive play callers on this team? Are you willing to change up the offensive play caller to try and get the most out of Caleb Williams here? And Flus said all things are on the table. And I think here's my question though with that, right? Listen, I get it. Thomas Brown has been here. He has a system. He understands what he's looking for. He's been a play caller down in Carolina. He's, of course, been a part of that Rams coaching staff up there. I guess the question for me would be, does Thomas Brown make the the offensive line better. Listen, with the team you have right now, Sean McVay couldn't call plays for this team. I've said this multiple times. With the team you have right now, Ben Johnson couldn't call plays for this team. There are times where the team just is bad. There are times when the play calling is bad, but there are other times where, listen, like the call is there. You just got to make the play. The call is there. The throw is there. Even yesterday, right? The bubble screen that Caleb Williams ends up throwing. He talked about it after the game on the radio and said, Jason McKee asked him about it, and he basically said, "Listen, that was on me. I checked to that play, and it was supposed to be a run play." Now, you could question, well, as a rookie, should he have these checks? As a rookie, should he be able to say, I want to check to a pass play in this moment? But then you look at the play, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's a bubble screen on 3rd and 3. But if Keenan Allen does a smidge of his job, this breaks. This works. So does an offensive play caller really change what's happening on the field? Now, I will say this. From that little bit of a clip that we saw yesterday, I'm sure that everybody saw it where Shane Waldron's on the sideline. Caleb Williams is on like sack number 7 on the season. And literally, he's like laughing in his face. I wonder if I got to find this clip, dog. He's literally like laughing at him. My boy from BFR usually has all of them. My boy Dave from BFR usually has all of them. He's literally like laughing and freaking here. It's just a picture. This is just a picture. But I'm telling you, this is not taken out of context. This is not what we think it is. Like, it's literally like he's laughing and Caleb Williams just rolls his eyes. Hold on, here's the video. See if I can share this. Wow. Because this is something that needs to be experienced. We don't want the audio to play here. But literally, I mean, just like Caleb's just like, what are we laughing at, dog? What are we really laughing at? Why is this funny? I'm getting my head kicked in. There's nothing funny here. This image will be haunting for me if this young man gets hurt. That image right there will be haunting for me if this young man ends up getting hurt. Paul said he was laughing because he knows he'll be back. Probably. But honestly, man, do you think that this is? Does a play caller change really affect anything? That's the question that I wonder. Does a play caller change make your offensive line better? Does a play caller change all of a sudden make Caleb more accurate? Because that's been a problem as well. There are plays to be made. There are throws to be made. There are receivers open. Like I said, second half, I think Shane Waldron's issue is the consistency. Shane Waldron's issue for me is I don't see the same play calling in the second half of games that I see in the first half where I'm like, wow, there's guys open. You got to make the throw. I see in the second half, I'm like, what is your game plan here? What's the purpose of this play? And so maybe it increases the consistency, but is it going to make the players better? You came into another season with subpar offensive line play and bad players. You didn't invest in your offensive line. You didn't put any real, and I get it, right? Guys are going to say, well, Pat, they actually went out and they got 4 offensive linemen this offseason. They went out and they got Ryan Bates. They went out and they got Coleman Shelton. You had drafted Darnell Wright. You hoped he takes a step. You still had Braxton Jones. You're investing in this offensive line. How can you say Ryan Poles hasn't invested in this offensive line? Invest the same way that you invested on the defensive side. I want second-round picks on my offensive line. I want first-round picks on my offensive line. You do have one, but then you look around and I've got a $3 million center. I've got a 5th round pick traded for backup right guard who didn't look great yesterday. He looked, I guess, okay, but he didn't look great. I have a left tackle who's a 5th round pick who is being replaced by a 3rd round pick left tackle who came in to start his career banged up. We just love drafting these guys that can't stay healthy. Oh, by the way, right now he's banged up. And then I've got a left tackle, or a left guard, I should say, who can't find a way to finish games because his body just won't let him. That's not an investment. Let's not pretend it is. And especially when you can look around the NFL and you can see multiple differences being made at one position, I don't know how you can ignore it. I just don't. Even in last night's game, first half, I thought CJ Stroud was well protected. Second half, CJ Stroud was under duress. Second half, what happens? 2 interceptions. Now the game's going the other way. Now you're in a field goal battle. How are you going to what changes realistically if you swap just the play caller? And I get it. The conversation now that everyone who didn't want Justin, or I'm sorry, who wanted Justin here, who wanted who didn't want to move on, who said let's take the haul. All right, fine. Paul said Pohl was the lineman, which makes it mind-boggling that he can't draft him. Well, he wasn't a good one. He wasn't a good one. But now the conversation is, well, I thought you said he was generational. Generational players make whatever happens work. Y'all told me he was Pat Mahomes. Y'all told me that he was CJ Stroud. Y'all told me that he could make this work because he was generational. First off, I kept saying, I don't know about generational. Let's stop throwing that word on people. But then Ryan Poles throws it out there. And then you run him out to the Jordan music. But let's talk about those generational quarterbacks. That generational quarterback, Pat Mahomes, came in behind an offensive line that was already set up for Alex Smith that did a pretty dang good job protecting him on the way to his first Super Bowl. His second Super Bowl he gets to, which was very impressive, losing both tackles, but also gets his head kicked in that Super Bowl, runs 500 yards, I believe it was, in the wrong direction. And they never really were in that game. That's the one that Tom Brady ends up winning. CJ Stroud last year, phenomenal player, was pretty well protected, threw the football well, had his wide receivers, everybody on the same page. They even invested in the offensive line this year. That offensive line has gotten banged up, though. Now CJ Stroud looks very much human and has not had nearly the season that everybody talked about him having last season. Meanwhile, on the flip side of that, Sam Darnold continues to look like a freaking stud, although he's come back to earth a little bit these last couple of weeks, still able to go out there and lace that football through to Justin Jefferson with no problems, though. Jared Goff has turned into an MVP candidate, and his offensive line is so freaking good. In the first half, he can throw 5 interceptions. In the second half, he can come back and fight his way back into a game and win that game by the end of it with 2 touchdowns. So we can sit there and talk about, oh, it's excuses. Oh, my goodness, you told me that he was supposed to be an amazing quarterback. Don't sit there. And this is what throws me off about this conversation. This is what throws me off about this conversation. This is the same conversation we had for Justin Fields last year. And now you're not willing to have it for the quarterback that you currently have. Are you really a fan of the team, or are you butthurt that Justin Fields got sent away? This is the same conversation we were having last season. This is the same conversation we had throughout Justin's entire career. But now so many fans are unwilling to have that conversation because their guy got sent away. Instead of rooting for the team and hoping that the guy that's currently in place does well, you want to see that guy get run out of here. You want to see that young man get killed. You want to see him break the sack record. That's BS. That's BS. I'm sorry. I'm calling it for what it is. And I knew it was going to happen. It's literally what I said was going to happen. Because your buddy got sent away. And by the way, if y'all remember, I wanted Fields here too. But I said, if you bring Fields in, or I'm sorry, if you bring Caleb in, protect him like you didn't protect Justin. You didn't do that. But now so many people are unwilling to have this conversation about a rookie quarterback because he was labeled generational. And you're so upset that Justin Fields, who is benched, by the way, who's not even the backup quarterback in Pittsburgh, you're so upset that he was traded away that you're now not willing to have this same conversation. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. That's a sad existence. Get a better life. That's what I'd tell you. That's a sad existence. That means you just want your team to be bad. That means that you just want to see your team fail. That's sad. And you're relishing in this. Because at the end of the day, the conversation you should be having is, hey, Ryan Poles, why didn't you protect our new young rookie quarterback, unlike what you did for Justin Fields? Because I'll tell you what, give all these same weapons to Justin. What's he doing? He's still running because he's not protected. And yeah, maybe the runs are fun and he's able to get away and we're able to make magic, but it's not better. You're still talking about a quarterback under duress. That's not a situation for development. You're still talking about a quarterback running for his life. That's not a situation for development. The conversation that I'm looking to have is not one's better than the other. The conversation I'm looking to have is, why the heck don't we protect this young man? It's why every single quarterback that steps foot in this building is on his back and out of here within 4 seasons. I'm all for calling out Ryan Poles for not doing that. I'm all for calling out Ryan Poles for not making the move. But what I'm not going to sit here and do with you guys all season is have this argument of one quarterback would have been better than the other because you didn't protect either one of them. So how can you say it? I saw Justin Fields unprotected. He wasn't very good. I wanted him to be. I said, go protect him. This is the other conversation. Shout out Don Quixote, always rocking. Said it ain't about the QB, it's the haul we could have had to address the rest of the team. All right. I've said this multiple times, but we having a conversation, so might as well have it. Could you have addressed the offensive line this offseason? It's about the haul. The haul was to address the offensive line. Could you address the offensive line this offseason? Yes or no? Could you have drafted offensive linemen? Could you have traded picks to draft offensive linemen in the second round? Yes or no? Could you have signed Tyler Biazza? Could you have or traded for Tyler Biazza? Could you have signed Connor Williams to address the offensive line? Yes or no? So why are we pretending like Ryan Poles couldn't address the offensive line? It's about the haul that you could have gotten to address the offensive line. You got the number 1 overall quarterback. You got a top 9 or top 10 wide receiver, and you still could have addressed the offensive line. You didn't. The conversation about the haul is dead when you look at everything that happened in the offseason and said, hey, there's a good offensive lineman. Hey, there's a good offensive lineman. Hey, there's a good offensive lineman. Maybe we can get that offensive lineman. Oh, well. F it. The haul does nothing if you don't pay attention to it. And you didn't pay attention to it. That's the real conversation. And so this rhetoric from Bears fans on Twitter that you're happy to see Caleb Williams be on pace for 72 sacks and this is what the Bears deserve because they traded away Justin Fields. How about you stop crying in the basement? How about you go touch grass? Or at least root for the team that you say you're a fan of. At least cheer for the team to have better that you say you're a fan of. Paul with a super chat said Poles could have, but fell into the Fields was the problem narrative. Yeah, he did. He thought his quarterback having a quicker release, which he does, and being better at anticipatory throws, which he is, would improve the fact that he had a bottom 5 offensive line. Tony with a $5 super chat. Put Caleb behind the Commanders' O-line, and he would be better, just as good, if not better, than Jaden Daniels. He'd definitely be smoother. You want to know how I know? Because we saw him for 3 games get actual protection, and he looked like everything you hoped he was going to be. You saw him this season with protection, and he looked like everything you hoped he was going to be in a Chicago Bears uniform. It's Crimson screaming against the Panthers. My boy, the Patriots aren't good. The Patriots aren't good. The Cardinals defense isn't good. Like, it's not like you've all of a sudden like stepped up in defense. I keep seeing that too. It's against the Panthers. It was against the Jaguars. It was against, yeah, you just got your head kicked in against the Patriots, who are awful. You just got your head kicked in against the who the heck did we just come on? Against the Arizona Cardinals defense, who is not good. So yes, against the Panthers. Yes, against the Jaguars. That's when you protected the kid. And I'll tell you what, it feels a lot worse being on this side. When everybody sits there, by the way, I thought about this too. When everybody's out there and they're just like, oh, well, I know we won the game, but it's against these guys, and they suck, so that doesn't matter. How's this feel? How does losing to these teams feel? How does being on this side feel? Because it's a lot worse over here than it was when we were 3 games in, winning 3 games in a row, feeling good. It is. It's a lot worse. Just wondering. Bears Junkie with the super chat said Ryan ignored offensive line, and Kevin Warren's only worry is how to rip off Chicago taxpayers to pay for his billionaire boss's stadium. Boycott the Bears. This ain't fun to me. Paul said it looks like Caleb is the worst rookie QB of all of them, considering he's playing with better talent. Yeah, but worse O-line talent. I will say the Drake May one is the one I think that stands out the most, because Drake May's offensive line is not good, contrary to how the Bears rushed the passer yesterday. But that one to me, and really, I left that game going, wow, you get this kid a line, you get this kid some weapons, he's going to be nasty in this league. I'm kind of messing with Drake May a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not full mid defender yet. I'm not the mid defender. I'm not full mid defender yet. But Drake May showed me something yesterday. He really did. He assessed really well. He assessed really well yesterday. But no, remember coming into the season? No, line's not bad, Pat. Line's not bad, Pat. This offensive line's not bad, Pat. We don't have a center that can snap the football. No, it was Justin. Justin did that. Line's not bad. Left tackle's not bad. Braxton Jones ain't that bad. He's serviceable. Oh, okay. Send me your PFF numbers. Tevin Jenkins, he got it, man. He's got it. He doesn't stay on the field. Nah, he's not bad. Line's not bad, Pat. Okay. Who's playing right guard? Man, Nate Davis, he's gonna bounce back, Pat. He's got it. Nate Davis. I hope so. But he don't practice much. Nah, he got it. Line's not bad, Pat. All right. Okay. You got it. Who's playing center? We got Ryan Bates. He's got 150 snaps in his life. Nah, line's not bad, Pat. He addressed it. Line's not bad. Listen to what I'm saying, dog. Think about what I'm saying. Braxton Jones, who the only time you ever see him play well is on PFF. Tevin Jenkins, who's always injured. Backup right guard was slated to be your starting center. Instead, because he got banged up, you had to go with the dude who was the center who was cut with the Rams. Your right guard doesn't practice. So now you're at the backup right guard, who's actually the backup right guard, and Matt Pryor, who's actually been solid. I'm not going to slander Matt Pryor on this show. He's been well above average. Now you get back Ryan Bates. He gets out there. He still looks like a backup right guard. You end up having to move Matt Pryor over to right tackle because your right tackle's dead, and Darnell Wright, who's been dog water this season, that really looks like a bounce back year for him and another tough pick. And so you got Pryor out there at right tackle, which is one of his worst positions. Line's not bad, Pat. It's Justin Fields' fault. Line's not bad. All right. And 35 sacks in. Actually, where's he at right now? Is he at 38? Is he at 38 sacks right now? Let's see. Caleb Williams has been sacked. Not going to give me the totals. There we go. 20. That's not factual. They didn't add in yesterday's game. It's definitely more than 29. Yeah, they didn't add in yesterday's game yet on here. But I mean, it was 9 sacks. So realistically, it's 38 sacks. Line's not bad, Pat. That's what I heard. That's what I kept hearing from everybody, from everyone. I'm like, what line are you looking at? I had a center that was snapping footballs to heaven. My big mark caught 2 of them, threw them back down to Justin, say, yo, try and figure it out, son, run. Joke, man. A joke. An absolute joke. Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. We'll be live, of course, tonight at 6 for the Daily Show. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love as always. Line's not bad. Yeah, we'll be back later. Make sure you tap in with me over on ESPN 1000 as well. I'll be live over there from 10 to 12 with Shay Norland. We're going to be reacting to Matt Eberflus's press conference today. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down, one love. Line's not bad, Pat. Peace.
The best show for Chicago sports.
My God.